Okay. Hope you can see my screen. And yes, I hope you can see my screen. So to as a recap from last time, from last week, we looked at Django REST framework. That means the basics. We looked at what is a REST framework and why we need REST frameworks. We made a simple endpoint, just a get endpoint for getting some data. Went ahead and just simply looked at this powerful tool from Django REST framework, which allows us to create, prototype, and make web APIs very fast with just a matter of creating a model and creating a serializer, then a view. You're done with creating an endpoint. So as I said before, if you want to look know more about REST framework, it's as long as you understand Django basics, you understand things to do with views, things to do with models, things to do with URLs. Django framework becomes so easy because instead of now serving templates, you are now serving JSON data, and this JSON data can be accessed uh, by by your front end. So in today's session, we're going to look at how we can use our REST API to connect to the front end. That means connect to any front end framework, whether it's React, whether it's vanilla JavaScript, whether it's Vue, whether it's anything, like whether it's Angular, doesn't matter as long as it's a front end. We're going to look at that in a moment. So actually before, if those guys who are maybe lost from last week, if you go to the official documentation of Django REST framework, that's django-rest-framework.org, you can look at the quick start actually, tutorial, then quick start. You can look at things like serialization, requests and responses, class-based views, authorization, like auth and permissions. You can look at foreign keys and all and relationships. You can look at views sets and routers. But in our case, we're going to cut everything short because we already have something already going, and we picked some things from last time. We said we are going to use for serialization. We're going to use model serializer. For requests, we're going to skip and just look at class-based views because they're easier to use. And then for permissions, you haven't looked at permissions, but later on when you're doing your project, you're going to look at permissions and declaration. You're going to research about this, but I'm going to skip this. Then we're going to look at relationships. So we have skipped things like function-based based views. We are just looking at class-based views because I think they're easier to work with. They are faster. They don't deserve too much, and they have less code to work with. Then of course, for serialization, we said we're going to look at model serializers, and I think 100%, no, like 98% of people who use Django framework, they opt to use the model serializer because I think it's just easier to use rather than creating serializers like few feeds for each model. So in a way, we are going to use that model serializer. So all these things you can look through them, but at the end of it all, if you're not doing a custom, not doing any custom thing on a model, you don't need to look at serializers. You just need to focus on model serializer, and it's just a bunch of few lines of code, and you're done with serialization. Here, model serializer, where you just simply create a class meta, then you simply call your model, and then you add some feeds. That's it for model serializers. Then of course, when you look at class-based views, there are so many views that like you can have a custom class-based view where you define the get, the post, the patch, all that. But in our case, I personally prefer just using you can use mixins. Mixins can help you to cut down the code and have generic kind of endpoints like get and post. But at the end of it all, the 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 the, the most commonly the most common used endpoints or used mixins, they all come together to make a what we call a generic class. So generic class, for example, you want to have an endpoint which just lists, you like for getting, just use a list API view. If you want to have an endpoint which can both create and both uh, get, post and get, you can use let's create API view. And when you want to have maybe one which gets and can update, can also delete, you can use retrieve, update, destroy view, API view. So, and of course, if you look at the API guide, you can look at all these things. You can look at each in detail. But at the end of it all, you just try something out, then you go ahead and try out something, then you go ahead and what, and expand it when you feel like, okay, I've lost somewhere. You can maybe, for example, you are doing maybe a generic view, like, okay, how do I maybe have this custom functionality? That's when you go and read through the documentation, because this is too much and I cannot cover it just in a single day or in a single week. Even a month, it's hard to cover it in a single month. So you always go ahead and reference it and look through it. I think almost all the things you need, they are available within the documentation. Everything we need to create your powerful API, a simple API, everything is available. What I'm gonna show you is just maybe the basics of to get started. But enough with me talking about this. So let's just see what we did last time, so that we can have a glimpse of what we can add onto today's session. So last week, let me see. Let me just open up this endpoint. So last week, /pause. So last week we looked at, I said I'm going to create a pause API which simply has pause which have questions and then choices or answers, doesn't matter you name it. It is questions and choices. And of course we looked at an endpoint which was questions. And the questions, you could see we have some bit of fields. Of course, it's a bit kind of more add something on it, but we had a question text, okay, then an ID, okay, then a questions. This question is what we call a foreign key, okay, or a foreign object. It's coming from a different table. So you have a question text, then the pub date, or then the ID. So these are the model values, okay, from the model. Then of course we had choices, which is a foreign key coming from the choices table. And of course, when we looked at using generic views, we have the framework gives us an interface where you can simply have like a form. You can either have raw data, which is either JSON or anything else, JSON, or you can have XML, or you can have a form. Okay, and this form makes things easier, because here it's like at the end of it all, you have to try to recreate this using maybe React, using HTML, maybe using Android, doesn't matter. But this is what you are going to send. Okay, so it gives you like kind of a form, an HTML form. So where I can say maybe I want to add a new question. I can say what is, no, I can say maybe when was okay, just like that. It's a question, then I can post the question. Okay. This is just this whole thing for Django REST framework. This interface is for testing the API, so it's not necessary for, okay, of course there's an error here, which is okay. This endpoint just simply for testing the API. It's not necessary for like the actual interface. So when you're doing this, this shouldn't be available for other developers. So any developers should see this interface. Okay, and because in the end of it all, the client would understand things like JSON. Client only understand the interface, things like buttons, forms, all this coming from normal HTML or React. Then of course, I think I had a mistake here. Questions: why is it complaining? Okay, so of course we also looked at the choices endpoint. And choices endpoint is where you can add. I think there's a mistake there somewhere. I'll fix it. So you can add what? You can have a choice. Okay, a choice text. Maybe have the 4 choices. You can say maybe I want to choose. Let's use this one. Maybe what's the age of the universe? Yeah, let's say it is 6 million years. Okay, maybe votes are going to look at votes later on, but let's assume votes per now. Let's say leave it empty. Then you can post. Then of course you see you having an ID, the choice text, the votes, then the question. And the question per now it's just question 3 because I want to have the ID. And I think to make things easy, I didn't have to go ahead and make a custom string or try to bring out the action name. Make it simple and basic. Just have it to be with the ID of 3. And if I check back to my questions, I should see this. I should see 6 million years, which is here, 6 million years. Question 3. So 6 million years. So in a way, for now I'm having only one question. I think there's some error happening in my code, which is okay. I'll fix it later on. But in our case here, we are having these different questions and all these different things. Okay. So now I want to just show you the code. Just a recap. And if you have questions, please be ready to ask questions. So our models. So let me just bring our code here. So our models, if you look at our models, they're simple. We have a question model, okay, which has a question text, a feed of char feed, and a date feed, which has the date feed, which is the pub date or the publication date, then the question, sorry, the question text. Then they have a question again. So you have one is the first one. Let me just do this. Let me just say question model. Okay. Then you're having this is a choice model. Choice model. So having the class choice model, then the question model. Okay, having these 2 models. The first model is the question. The second model is a choice model, which is having the choice text, then the votes, then of course this feed, the question foreign key. So we are saying for each question you can have as many as choices you want. Okay, doesn't matter, you can have as many choices as you want. I'm not sure why there's an error happening somewhere here, but I'll fix it somewhere. Okay, so from the models, we went ahead and created serializers, and we say serializers are simply it's a copy or it's a snapshot of the models, but the snapshot will be it helps us to format or to change or to convert our data into JSON. Okay, it allows us to convert it in JSON. It just makes us serialize, like changing it from JSON to from the ORM object or the Python object to JSON, and also from JSON to the object model. And I'd made some few changes here, of course, and the changes, I think that one which are breaking. Let's see if it's supposed to be required. Let me see. Okay, good. That's why it was complaining. Okay. So in this case here, the choice model. So in our case here, I'm beginning with the choice model because I'm using it here at the bottom. But in our case, it's just simply you create a class because you're using the model serializer. If you're using a serializer, you have to create the feeds. You have to create a copy of the feeds. One feed, second feed, third feed. But since you are now using the model serializer, you simply write a class, then you inherit from the model serializer, then you write a class method, then of course you declare the model instance or the model, then you go to the feeds, and you say you can either use feeds equals all, or you can use an array or a tuple of each of the feeds. So for example, in our case here, I'm having feeds equals underscore underscore all, means that all the feeds within the choice model here, all the feeds will be available within our serializer. Okay, they'll be open, they will be, what's the right word, they will be available. Okay, they will be available within our JSON data. Then the question serializer I'm having, the thing is, because we are having this field called foreign key, the foreign key, okay, all our relationship between the two models. That's why here I'm passing in this thing called choices. These choices here, the word choices here, okay, these choices here, same name here, which is this, which is the related names. Choices here, same name. Something choices, the choice field which is available within our question. I'm saying equals to the choice serializer. I'm saying because there are supposed to be many of them, same equals true, then one required equals false. I'm not explaining this later on, but remember in our case, instead of having a string feed, because we can have a string related feed, something called a string related feed. Instead of having that, we can have a choice serializer. You can have this actual serializer here, okay, this one here, as a field. Okay, then of course something which I had to put here, supposed to be read only equals true. Okay, just make sure it's read only to avoid it from breaking. Okay, so I think it's a wrong argument. Let's first do this. Control X, come hit here, bring it here, comma. Okay, what is complaining? Okay, so there's no error there, it's just taking long to this error. Then we have, of course, you have the class method, then you have our model, then you have our feeds. Okay, then from that we went ahead and created our views. Views are quite so simple and straightforward. Then inside our views, before we created what we created these views here, okay, these views here manually, okay, by creating what a function, then passing a question, checking if it's post, if it's get, okay, then using things like initialize the data instead of returning here, instead of returning here, instead of what we'll return, okay, instead of returning a template, we return JSON, okay, JSON, okay, instead of a template. So in a way, if you remember, if you're with Emma, you return a template, render template, return render template. But now we are simply returning JSON, okay? And the same thing applies. So there's no difference. The difference is like instead of returning a render, we're returning a JSON, we're returning a response. This response allows us to convert or to have JSON. Same applies to this, okay? And same applies to and remember we use this decorator to allow us to have access to the get and post method, which is available what for the here they're telling you it converts, but in our case sometimes it allows us to have access to the endpoints or to the functionality of an API provided by the REST framework. Say that converts a function based view into an API subclass. So in a way, it allows us to have endpoints which work, okay, which have this endpoint, which have the get and post. We can have even get comma. I can have delete. I think I can have delete. Doesn't matter. You can have all these things, but I think this is complete. I don't want to read, but I think you can have all these different endpoints. But in our case, let's move this because to bug me with the errors. We say you can have that, but we say that this is just too much. If you're doing simple kind of functions, okay, simple endpoints, this is just too much. Too many work. A check request, returning, all that, okay, that's too much work. Then we said we look at what we call class-based views, okay. And these class-based views, the best way to use them is to use them with generics, okay, because it's easy. Just have simply inherit from an endpoint you want. Maybe you want to inherit from a list create and API view, or a retrieve, update, destroy API view. No matter what you name it, what you get from, as long as you know what you want. If you know, my thing is gonna let me just put a comment here. Okay, here this endpoint can get, okay, get and post. This one endpoint here can endpoint here can you can get, which is retrieve, it can update, which is patch, okay, or put, it can also delete, okay, but it cannot post, it can only get, patch, put, delete, okay. Then this endpoint can also can do the same thing, so the same stuff. So I'm having one endpoint for the, so one view for the question, I'm calling question list, then another view which allows us to have a single endpoint which can allow us to delete, because then you have to delete a single object. You don't delete everything, you delete one by one. That's why I'm calling it question detail. Same applies to this, same thing, there's no difference. Then at last, of course, since we are using class-based views, go back to the URL, then you pass in this one, the URL I'm looking for, this one here. Then you pass in our endpoint as a view, okay. Simply say you create an endpoint questions, then you say views don't the class as a view, okay. Same applies to the one for the choices. But remember, since this other one, this one for the detail is with a single endpoint, or a single object endpoint, that's why we are passing it as this kind of a variable called int angle brackets int pk, meaning we are passing the primary key as that as a variable within this. Instead of, see, if it comes to functional based views, you have to define the pk, all that, check the pk is true, then all that stuff. But with simply you saying update, retrieve, API view, it's just straightforward. It does everything for you. Let me show an example here. If I move forward, if I go to questions, okay, questions list, okay, I have one question. Maybe let me just put another question, refresh, another question. Hopefully it won't bug me. I say, what is the meaning of Python? Okay, doesn't matter. I post. Good, it has accepted the post, which is okay. I can go back, I can refresh, just make sure, cancel. I just get, just make sure everything works. I'm having ID 3, then ID 4 here, okay. So I can just say /4, because remember, endpoint is our endpoint here. Where is it? Here it is, question / then the pk, or the primary key. That I can do /4 to show me only this, okay, /4, and it's giving me this ID 4, then the question, then the details. Then I can put, okay, which is the same thing as updating. I can go ahead and delete, okay. I can no options, okay, but you can delete it, okay, and to give you this interface for deleting, cancel. And of course you can get, okay, if I get, you just simply show me only get it again, okay. but you can delete it. Let me just cancel. Don't delete it. Same applies to what to the choices. Same thing. There's no difference. And it's all a matter of you creating a URL and going to the views and simply saying I want it to be retrieve, update, destroy API view. Just passing this uh, class, the rating from this class, and that's it. And I'm done with almost all the things like deleting, updating, creating within just a matter of you passing this class. Okay, so instead of you struggling here, just simply do one thing and then it's done. Okay, good. So I think I've recapped the whole last week. Hopefully, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask. If you have questions, please. Okay, can ask questions. So before we get into actually some of the things for today's session. Okay, good. So as you, yes,
Yes, Eric, I missed the part where you set up that whole testing UI.
The whole thing. So
I mean, is it automatic?
yes, automatic. The moment you are using class-based views, okay. The moment you use class-based views, actually, the moment you use REST framework, it gives you this interface for you. Okay. The moment I use a class-based view, let me show you an example. Okay. Let's create another view. Okay. Let's create another view. One view here. Okay. Copy this one here. Paste it. Okay. Let's name it maybe anything else. Let's name it generics API. Let's name it choices details with an S. Okay. If I go back to my URLs and I add maybe an endpoint, Control V, then I say maybe something like APIs. Okay. I save. Okay. Maybe I move this part. Okay. The moment I do this, okay, REST framework will give me this. Will go if I search here. Okay. And I go to pause / APIs. Okay, / maybe like 4. See, it mostly gives me this interface. Okay, so doesn't matter. The moment you're using REST framework, the interface is available for you. The interface comes. Okay, the interface is automatic. Yeah.
So when I try going there, it doesn't work for my case.
Are you using?
But I was using view sets instead of the mixins. I mean the whatever.
The generics.
Yeah, the mixins.
The thing is, when you're using this function-based endpoints, it won't give you the interface. Okay, because you have to define interface one by one. You have to build the whole thing. But when you're using like this generics, it automatically gives you the whole endpoint for deleting, updating, gives you everything. So the moment you're using this generics, okay, it gives you the whole interface for deleting, for updating. But yeah, I think, are you having this interface? This interface here looks like this, like this interface here, this which has this part here, like this header, and that you're not having this.
No. Oh, I'm not.
Did you add REST framework to your installed apps?
And
this part here, did you add this?
I did.
You did? So I'm not sure why the issue is. Check if you added this into your installed apps, it should automatically give you that. If it doesn't, check your URLs for the where is this part? See, I didn't even put anything else. Okay, so check. It should just give it to you. So make sure you're having this already, the REST framework within your installed apps. It's there. Because if it's not there, it will not show. Oh, so
Mine is there.
okay, but it's not showing you the interface.
It's there, and I've been testing the thing with it. It's not, it really isn't.
REST underscore framework. Okay, the next part is because I haven't done anything. There's nothing that which I've changed. I've changed nothing absolutely. Because I haven't introduced anything new. I just simply created URLs. Let me see. There's nothing. So I think I'm not sure. I think I'll look at your code later on because I will look at it later on. Can we have a session maybe after this session? I'll look at your code.
Okay, that would be nice.
Okay.
When I route it, just gives me errors.
Hey, I'll help you out. I'll help you out. You
Not
can.
even 404s.
Okay, we'll look at that later. We'll look at that. Okay. So the next part, which I want us to look at, okay, before we actually move on, is is a bit of documentation. Okay, I'm not gonna it's gonna be real fast because okay, because this is necessary for any API. Okay, an API, and one of the things that most people use, they use what you call open API documentation. Okay, and I'm going to just maybe use the next 5 minutes to just show it to you how it works. Then we can get into it later. We can get into it later on. So, for example, in my case, if you check my application, okay, and I go maybe to the home page or to the root page, which is localhost 8000, okay, I'm having an interface called Swagger, okay, by Smart Bear, okay. So this is what we call a documentation, okay, a simple one. So it's simple and fast, and this allows maybe the user or maybe the your developers to have to see the endpoints which are available rather than me imagining saying where are the endpoints. For example, I know, okay, I know in my code that I have slash pause slash question, I have slash pause slash choices, okay, but I have how will maybe my partner who I'm working with know? So that's when we have something called Swagger, okay, or Open API, which allows us to document our API real fast, okay. This is just a simple one because a simple API, this suffices to document it, okay, because in our case here to show me all the endpoints available within my API. It gives me maybe the pause. It has this pause. This is the whole application called pause because you can have many different apps within our application within Django. You can have the pause app. You can have maybe this app. You can have comments. You can have users. All these different apps. But now I'm having this pause app. Then you can see I'm having these models. So I'm having choice model, then question model, and I can check on the choice I'm having an ID, I'm having a choice text, I'm having a question, then a question text, then a pub date, then a choices. And you can see this star here is saying that that the choice text is required, the question is required. Okay, same applies here. The question is required. These are just optional. Okay, and you can see everything I've defined. Read only equals true. You can only read read the choices within our choices within our question model. Okay, and same applies here. You can see I'm having all these different models. It just gives you a snapshot of what the model looks like. And then of course when you go back to when you scroll up and look at the actual endpoints or the schema or the endpoint, you can look at I'm having I can get pause, okay, because I'm having pause, and pause gives us nothing, okay, just a few which are used for testing, okay. And if I go slash pause, okay, you can see it's just an endpoint for testing, okay. Then of course I'm having get for choices, post for choices, get a single ID, put a single ID, put a single patch, then I'm having delete, then I'm having get again for questions, then because in our case, it's one pole. That's why it's one app. That's why everything's like that. Okay. Then applies here. Pause, post, then get, then put, then patch, then delete for questions. Okay. And you can click on let's click on what, post. Okay. And you can try out, and you can see you can send some data. Okay. Send some data to your API using this documentation. Okay. Then you can execute. Okay. And that's the whole thing for you. It gives you like, for example, if you're using Linux, I think also Mac can work. You can simply copy this same thing and paste it within your terminal to do the same thing. Okay. Then you can of course show me errors here. Okay. Errors here and here, which is okay. Okay. Will show me the errors. But in your case, I'm just showing that you can have this kind of nice interface which you can use to view your application. Okay. And this is available by simply using something called Django. That's the name of the it's called. Let me just bring it up. It's a weird name. Settings. This is the name of the application. Django REST framework. Okay, let me just show you the documentation, because the name is not good. The name, so the poor naming. But if you search for the RF or Django REST framework, yet another Swagger generator, or it's a Swagger generator, so it's Django REST framework Swagger generator. Okay, so Swagger is just an open standard which allows us to have gives us what we call documentation. Okay, it helps us to document our APIs easily. Okay, you can use this. You can just look through this, and then just copy this and paste it in the chat. Chat here, paste it. So this Django REST framework, yet another Swagger generator, allows us to have that endpoint. Okay, and it's all simple. It's all a matter of you reading on usage here and copying and pasting that the usage, because you don't need to customize the whole thing, unless if you're working on a very big project and your thing is for you to document the API. That's when you go ahead and try customizing it. But for your API, if you're working in a small group and you know what you're doing, this suffices. Okay, suffices because it's simple and you don't need you don't need to change so many things. Okay, it's a matter of you adding because remember, in everything you install in Django, you have to add it to install apps. So you add the Django REST framework YSG onto your installed apps. Then you go ahead and add the schema. Okay, this schema here inside your URLs. They give you everything. Then of course you bring in the open API from Django REST framework Swagger. Then of course you bring the schema. Okay. Then of course at the end at the bottom here you add some endpoints. Okay. So let's do that real quick. I'll show you. I've already done this, so I'm gonna show what I've done, and then I think you're done. Okay. Of course, one thing which then you're done. I think everything is okay. Yeah. So let me show it to you. Okay. Same applies to mine. What I did, I added this Django REST framework Swagger. Then of course I checked to make sure that inside my this static file is there. Of course it was there. Good. Then after that I'm done. Then I go back to my project URLs, what is the admin part of it. Then I imported this get schema, which from the documentation. Then I got the open API. Then of course I brought in I code or initiated that the with a new variable called swagger view. It's a variable, can be anything. Okay, so you call this or initiate this function which takes in the open API.info, info about your API. Because this can we can remove this part here. I don't need this part. Okay, it's not important. I think I save. Hopefully it won't crash. But I think it's not important that part. If I refresh, it will not bug me. Okay, oh, it's bugged me. I have to manually put everything. I think it's important. Oh yeah, I was complaining. But anyway, let's not focus on that. But you can just put on this info about the title and the default. So the thing which I require, I think that you need the title. I need because here the content. If you look at the you need the title. Okay. So you get the title, the default version. Other things you don't need them. You can put them there, but you don't need them. Okay. Things which if you look at the documentation here, docs here, we have things like description, TOS, we're having contact, license. But now you don't need all this this stuff. Just Marcus remove all that. Okay, I have only the title, default versions. These are I think the required endpoints. They're not showing me why. Okay, the required endpoints. Okay. And of course, if I hover on it, it should show me what's required. Okay. Of course, it can be public or private. Private means that you need to pass in a password, okay, for you to access the actual endpoints or the API. For example, like things like you have a private API, things like maybe you have Facebook. You can't access all the different API. You have to access some few things. Applies to things like even Google apps. Few things you can access, and since you access on a few things, that's why it can either be private or public. Then of course you pass in the permissions. These permissions are the permissions which are from what? From permissions. Okay, from REST framework. Okay. Then after that, you pass in. You just create what you call this part. What you need on this part. Okay, what you need. See, in our case, they give you everything. That's why it's kind of confusing. They give you. They're using this URL, the old syntax. Okay, the URL syntax, which I don't use it, but now you're using. It's better to use the path. Okay, the path is better than using the URL. Okay, so what you need on the URL, I think you need the first the second one. Okay, this one here. Yeah, you can. Yeah, I think you need only the second one. The second one. In my case here, I'm having only the second one. Okay, I'm saying I want the main path or the root path, which is there's no slash on anything. It will be texting. You get this schema. Okay, schema view. Then with URL with UI, look at that UI. Then you pass in Swagger. The Swagger kind of the UI is called Swagger. Then of course you pass in some cache timeout. Then you pass on these things. Okay, these things. And if you want to know more about them, you can read the documentation on what they mean. But by now, remember, I just need to pass in the Swagger for that interface. Then the timeout. Okay, on that. Maybe when it fails with the internet, then of course you give it a name. So in your case, if you can look at our name here, it should be the same weird name. Okay. So UI, where is it? It should have shown there. By name, I think the name doesn't matter. So you can just try an error. Okay, check and remove, add, remove and add. But for now, we are running out of time, so I want to remove and add. Okay. Okay, but and that's it of what for the documentation. Okay, good. So any questions on that? Questions? on that, on the documentation. Okay, so if you have questions, you can go ahead and ask, uh, because the next part we're looking at, okay, because we're about to conclude. Next part, which can be a bit tricky, is connecting our API to our front end. And this part is the most trickiest part because most of you have been for the last few weeks you have been doing Django with templates. It means that you have been not facing any issue with that in code uh, cross origin site, okay, or cross code cause in short, okay, or what you call cross origin resource sharing, okay. So let me just share this code slash CORS calls, or how you call cross origin resource sharing, okay. So you haven't been facing this issue. I think most of you don't need to face this issue because you are having one site, one endpoint, okay. One site, one endpoint. There's no two endpoints, okay. In that case, we're going to look at how we can share ours, how we can share. Maybe if you go to let's see, get, okay, how we can make let's go back to slash pause slash questions. This how we can have this data available on the front end, okay. Having this data available on the front end, and before we actually share our data, we need to first activate, or we need to permit our endpoint, our React project, our Vue project, our Angular project, our HTML project access to our endpoint, okay. And this you also need make things easy. Django also gives you what you call Django. Make sure the Django, the name of it, yeah, the names are kind of hard to remember, but it's called cross headers, okay, or Django cross headers. And let me see the name of it. Just make sure it's right name, so I can do pip freeze to check it. Name of that file should be this, okay, Django cross headers. Okay. So to allow access to what to share data between two different endpoints or different URLs, you do what you call cross origin resource sharing headers, okay. So you need to install this code. Yes, install pip install this, okay. So I'm gonna share it with the name of this. And of course, the thing is, all these things you don't need to understand, to know how they work in the background, okay. Because what you require is to create an API, okay, and it's a tool which allows you to like, okay. And if you read through it, then you share also a link just to read about more. It's about it, okay. So this tool called Django cross headers, okay, allows you, okay, here adding allows you resources to be accessed on other domains, okay. Together, it's important to understand the implication before adding the header, since you could unintentionally opening up your site private data to others, okay. So in our case, we want our Django project, okay, or Django REST API project to have to share data between the localhost 8000 maybe to localhost 3000 to anything you want to add to share with. Okay, so and the best way to do it is to use cross course. Okay, you can previously I think this was you can also allow simply so down here you could allow just in settings around 9.8 you could what you could allow adding some URLs maybe localhost 3000 localhost something like that. Okay, but this also a bit kind of overwhelming, especially if you're allowing almost if you're testing your application and having like 1,000 different endpoints. Okay, you have to add them one by one, one by one, one by one. It's cool, you can do that, but the best way to do it is to use this cross headers. Okay, simply install you simply install the cross headers. As I said, cross headers, then set up install this. Okay, then you simply add this cross headers into your application, then you add this middleware, this middleware here, this middleware inside your middleware class or middleware variable or array, something like an array. So you add the middleware. Okay, then you are done. Okay, you can allow all of them. You can have some rejects. Say maybe if it's coming from this URL, don't allow. You can allow all origins. Okay, and the example you see is an example how you can what say maybe example.com, maybe here. Okay, and I give you different things, like for example if it's coming from https slash here and here. Okay, they give you examples, okay, of how you can allow all these different websites. Okay, can I say maybe allow only these three, maybe allow only get. Like for example, if you are looking at our Google Docs. Okay, Google Docs only allows you to maybe to get, okay, to view. That's allows you not only to get. That's any point only get. Then if you are an admin, you can patch, you can post, you can put. Okay, but now the whole thing, the simplest one, because our application is gonna be simple. You don't have any private data. You don't have working with users. Everything is open. It's open source. I'll simply go ahead and I'll add that this middleware here. Okay, then add this cross headers. Then allow I can allow all, but I want to show you can allow because my React project is on 3000, so I simply passed in a localhost 3000 for React. Maybe if I'm using also maybe my localhost, which is the 12.0.0.1, I can also pass it there. And maybe if I change it somehow and some errors, I can also pass it the localhost. Yes, pass all of the stuff, so this the moment I change this endpoint, it can still work. Okay, and then that's all. Okay, that's all for the cross. Good. So I think we looked at course, we looked at documentation, we looked at recap from last week. So the next part is to try out our application on the front end. Before we actually go that part, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask questions. Go ahead and ask before I continue. Questions? Okay. Good. Okay. Good. So I have no questions. Okay. So I hope now the API has understood. People have understood the API and how it works. Okay. So last two parts which I'm going to look at is using a tool. Okay. to how to access this data. Okay, you can use something called Postman, and most of you have had Postman before. Hopefully, had Postman, so you can look at a tool code. Should be this one. Don't need this one here. You can look at a tool code Postman. Okay, Postman. It's an API platform which allow you to what to access data, to do all these different things, manipulate data, endpoints. Okay, it allows you to what to it's an API tool which allows you to what to post to endpoints. Okay, and it's quite nice. Okay, it's nice, but okay, for my simple application, I did want to install a tool like Postman. Okay, I wanted to do something quite simple which can work for me. Okay, and that's something simple. And most of you, this can work almost on your projects, all your projects. Okay, it can still work. So I know how to code. I think what's the name of it? Let me just see the name. It's called. What's the name of it? I've got the name of it. Code. Should let me just check the name. Should be one of the. Yeah, it's called Tunga Client. Okay, Tunga Client, and it has almost like 245,000 downloads so far, and it works just like what, like Postman. Okay, I think it's a lightweight REST API client for VS Code. Okay, quite simple, with simple and clean design. It's same thing. It's like a mini version of Postman. Okay, if you use Postman, it's quite a big application. It's around like 100 MBs, but still it's quite also it's big. Okay, but the most functionality of things like get, post, this works. Okay, it works simple. Okay, so I'm going to use this to test out our application real quick, because I've showed you how to test it using maybe the endpoint from REST framework, that interface. But let me show you also how to use some tools. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up this REST client. Yes, just change the simple light so it can look like Postman. Okay, so it now looks close to Postman. Okay, although it has different colors. Yeah, but now you can see just a simple endpoint where you can maybe grab our endpoint, which is localhost 3000, which is 8000 here. Maybe for example this one, start questions. Okay, that endpoint. Then I paste it here. I don't. Okay, you guys go back to my light theme, the light theme. Okay, didn't look. Okay, so there you sorry about that. But you can just copy and paste your endpoint. Maybe look 8000 slash post slash questions. Okay, then you can change the method maybe from post, get, put, patch. Remember, if you look at our documentation here, what is it? You can do a get and a post. Okay, only on these two endpoints. Okay, on this endpoint called questions. Okay, cannot do a get and a post. You cannot do a patch. Okay, that's why you can come here to our browser here, then do the localhost 3000 and stuff. Okay, it works the same way if you're using Postman. Okay, then of course I want to body. Okay, it's okay. Once I get request, you don't need headers, you don't need auth, you don't need anything else. Okay, you simply need to send. Okay, send a request. Okay, and of course it will go ahead and do that request for you. It to show you the time, like status 200, which is means it's okay. It has fulfilled the request. Then it will show you the size of that of the data, which is like half a KB. Then it will show you the time it took, like for 3 milliseconds. That's quite fast. So of course it shows you it has gotten all like everything in what in no, I want it to be in response. Okay, Then you can see now I'm having all this. Okay, I'm having the data, the same data, which was same thing as format from our interface. So in our case, if you're using maybe any other API which has no documentation, which has no playground, okay, you can still use this to make requests. Okay, you can do a post request here. I'm using this because in the nearby future you may be wanting to post an image and may have issues with using the interface from a REST framework. If I go to maybe to change and do a post here, okay, post, and I go to, you can get a body, then you can of course let's do this. You can minimize this, okay, minimize that, and remove this, okay, and then of course I want to be minimized. Then why? Okay, minimize this, okay. Then you can of course I'll go ahead and maybe click a form, okay. You can input field, you can say maybe the field is question field, question underscore text, okay. Then you see the value is maybe is hello, what is, okay. So of course you can have more fields and you can post. The reason why I like this is because you can click on this thing called files, then add a file, okay, add a file, maybe so maybe it's an image, okay. Then you choose an image, then you can choose an image where you want, okay. Maybe inside my pictures, you can add, click on a picture, okay, and upload the picture to your endpoint, okay, endpoint, picture to endpoint, then you can post. But now since you're not having images, you can remove smart images here, then you can just simply send, okay. Of course send, it will give us 201, which is okay still, to show you it has been created. Same applies to Postman. This works as Postman, works as Insomnia. There's so many different things. There's also Postman. If you are a person who's interested in lots of feminines, there's Postwoman, okay. You can use Postwoman to work out this. Because there are so many tools. So it doesn't matter what you use. If it works for you, it works, okay. So I've already shown you make a request using something called Tunga client or a mini version of Postman. Feel free to explore the API, okay. So now the last bit which are supposed to finish today, but I think we're running out of time, okay. But I'll just show you the outcome, okay, on how you can consume your API, okay. After setting up the cross, after testing your API, okay, using Postman or Postwoman or Insomnia or Tunga client, okay, you now are going to have your API in the front end, okay, or in your project, or React, Angular, whatever matter, okay. Now that part is where you are going to move to, okay. And that part is also straightforward. So to not waste too much time, I went ahead and already made excuse me, already made a front-end React project already. Already bootstrap it already real quick because don't have too much time on our hands. And it's quite simple, okay. It's same basic basic React project, okay. It has very few things. It has what I installed Axios only. I think I installed Axios down here. Where is Axios? Okay. I only installed Axios in our project because I made it quite simple, okay. Axios, and of course, like always, I'm using TypeScript. So I think we're running on port 3000. Yes, port 3000. So this outcome port 3000. If I go to localhost 3000, it's okay, simple, okay. Although here I'm having issues, okay, simple. So whatever I add on the endpoint, okay, whatever I add on localhost 3000, I can access it. Let me just do this. Here one, come here to this part here, and I'll show it to you hand in hand. Go to slash pause slash questions. Okay. Good. So if I go ahead and go a new question, maybe I can say which is order, Django or React. Then I post. Okay. When I post, of course, it will show here. It will show here automatically because I'm not listening to the server continuously. But if I refresh the page, okay, you should see which is order, React or Django. This is a React project. It's a Django project. Okay, so I'm having two of them hand in hand and they're working together. Okay, and if I go, maybe I go and add some choices here. Choices like that. Add a new choice. Maybe I say let's say Django. One choice here for Django. Then I can say which one's order. One question. Then I saw another question called React. Then I post again. Okay, good. I have two answers here for Django and React. If I refresh the page here, I should be having this here. Okay, which one's order, React or Django. Okay, I can choose between these two. Okay, and if I choose between maybe Django here, okay, just check here. I'm having this choice which is React. Okay, if I choose React as the answer, then I save. Okay, just check the votes. Okay, the votes I save. Okay, I should have, if I refresh here, cancel, I should go ahead and just get. Okay, I should have I didn't just get was supposed to be one for React, which is here 7, so I can do 7 here. 7. Okay, you can see I'm having a single vote. If again I save again, okay, and I refresh again, I'm having 2 votes. I think 2 votes. Okay, 2 votes. That means my React project and my Django project are connected. Okay, somehow. Okay, and that somehow which I'm talking about is just simply using either Axios or using fetch request. Okay, or the fetch API. And let me just run through the application real quick, how it works, the code. Then we are going a day. Of course, what I did simple. I went ahead and inside that the app on TSX. Okay, I went ahead and of course imported Axios. Okay, Axios. Then created that. I used state function just to grab the question, just create a state for the questions. So of course I went ahead and use Axios to get the data to create the pose questions. Then of course after that I passed in I got the rest data. Then I just simply set the questions, the rest data, and all this is inside. I use effect. Then after that, of course, you can have now access the questions. Okay, I can come and query them. I can check if they are there. Go ahead and map them and create an H1 with a index plus 1. That means each question has, you start from 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the index plus 1. That means because index starts from 0, so we say 0 plus 1, which is 1. Then of course you have the question text. Okay, then that's all for now for the question. Then for the choices, okay, remember our question has choices. Okay, I create a choice form because you have to choose between the choices. Okay? Then we're having our choices. Okay, and I'm passing in a prop for choices, and this prop is equal to the choices of question. And when I go back to my form for choice form, let me just make it bigger here. Here I'm creating a state for selecting. When I select, how I'll grab that the selected value. Okay, and of course down here, I'm creating a label with a bunch of radio buttons. Okay, so that matter can have a thousand radio buttons. The amount can be created because here I'm mapping each choice to each radio button. So each choice has a radio button. Then of course I don't need this part here. This is useless. Then of course I am going ahead and so useless. Okay. I'm going ahead and what and so have a button called submit for submitting the data. Then of course I'm having a function for the submit and a function for the on change. Okay. Then the on change function is here. It's up here down here. The on change. The on change simply gets sets. Okay, you sets selected value. Okay, and remember selected value here in our case here is here. This is the value. Okay, the ID of the choice. Okay, it grabs the ID of the choice. Then you simply add it to a selected target. Okay, so this should be it's okay. It can be a string. I think that's string also. So you grab the ID. After grabbing the ID, you come to our form. Okay, our form because you prevent default and make my life easy. My whole form is an async function. Then I first get the selected feed. Okay, means if I'm sure if I'm here first I'll show it to you. If I can maybe inspect here, it is small here. Okay, if I click maybe on the here this. Okay, if I click on maybe a pattern yards, okay, gives me an ID of 1. Okay, together. So applies if I click on maybe 5 million yards, gives me an ID of 3. Then if I click on save, which is supposed to be a save here, okay, save, it should return a choice. Okay, a choice which is of an ID 3. Okay, so ID 3. Okay, here. Then I can go ahead and get that same ID, that same choice. Then grab its vote, then add +1. Okay, that's why it has to be on the safer side. Just make sure everything I was seeing it the way I wanted to see it. And but now if I look into actually I don't need this part. I don't need this one. I don't need this. I don't need this because no, so I need it because I need the choices. I need to add 1. Yeah, I need it. So here I grab the choice, then I get the choice. So the next line 15, I make a patch. Okay, I'm gonna make a put. I'm making a patch request. Then patch, of course, taking the URL, then slash the ID. This ID, remember this ID is from selected. Then as you should be should be choices, should be choice. Just make sure everything works. Choice don't data don't ID. Okay. Then you grab the data here, the ID. Then you get the votes. Then get the votes from the database. Then you add 1. Then of course then you do the patch. Then you check if everything has changed. Then you're done. Okay. So this part here you can do maybe something like things have been saved. You can do all the things like what do you call like pop-up saying, oh, this is done, it's not done. Okay, so hopefully this will give you some insight on how to begin your project for your Remile and how you can start from an API and then create your front end, then bring them together. Good. So I'm done with my explanations and my long speeches. So I'll push this code to GitHub, then I'll share it with you after the session. Okay. Good. Any questions? Okay. I'll pass some information later on in the chat later on, but hopefully if you have questions you can ask them in the chat, or you can DM me and I'll answer them. Have a good evening and be blessed.